Okay, this is one of my favorite secrets to share with everybody. There is a way to use bias towards action to actually get a lot more done, but work a lot less. So, working at startups has a tendency to put you in a place where you'll probably end up working overtime. There's always so much going on, competing priorities, crazy deadlines. It's just the life of the startup, right? All the time. Work grind is a thing. Um, it's just kind of crazy hours, and it's to be expected, right? Because there's so much to do and so few resources, and everybody's on point. So the question though is, do you really have to work this way? Do you have to work such long hours? I always bring the example of Elon Musk, right? We all know that he's really big on the grind. He's famous for having this strong work ethic of working 100 hours a week. Okay, that's cool. That's Elon, but I don't believe it's the smartest approach. That working crazy hours is basically a brute force approach. Okay? So, is there a way, is there a set of tactics you can apply to actually still get a tremendous amount of work done without having to work crazy hours and sacrificing your personal time? And there is. So let me share with you some practical tactics that you can apply to help the entire team get to move a little bit faster. In the process, this will make you into a superstar to your leadership team and the rest of your team members. And as a byproduct, you'll achieve some sort of work-life balance. So the key to success, the number one step, is to adopt bias towards action. Basically, no matter what the tasks are, you just have to own it and say yes and get started. Even if it's a small little step you can take in the right direction, just go for it. Okay? Bias towards action. Act upon inspiration. There's no better time. Next, you have to identify achievable activities that can be accomplished in 1 week's time frame for everyone on the team. So it's critical, right? It has to be achievable so that the team can actually benefit from accomplishing this by realizing that they can. Then focus on any kind of opportunity to enable the team to move faster. So if there's a process bottleneck, if there's some sort of hang up or somebody needs additional training, whatever you can do to unblock the team to allow everyone to move a little bit faster, that's a big thing to work on. And finally, apply the Pareto principle. I keep bringing this up because it's so vital. You look for the 20% of the work that delivers 80% of the value. So focus on the priorities, the tasks that are achievable, but work on the 20% that has a profound impact, right? The most important critical pieces that deliver the most value. That you should work on first. And what are the outcomes of such an approach? Well, with the increased transparency around all the tasks, the entire activity across the team, everybody can see where the bottlenecks are at. If someone on the team needs additional assistance, is going to be really evident. Another byproduct of this approach is that as the team begins to accomplish tasks every week, it sort of re-energizes them, and every subsequent iteration seems to build on top of the previous one. So the team simply is becoming self-motivating as they get more things done. And the byproduct of that is, besides more work being done, is that the team will naturally start structuring the work in such a way that they should be able to avoid working overtime. Stress levels should greatly reduce, and you can entertain having some sort of work-life balance because the activity is still growing, right? The team is still getting everything done, Before I dive into the details, for those that don't know me, I'm Philip, an engineering leader sharing practical shortcuts to help you work smarter, not harder in your technology startup. Okay, now we can get into some details. So, what is bias towards action? And I'm quoting Naval Ravikant. All the really successful people I know have a really strong action bias. They just do things. So it's the willingness to say yes and go jump in with both feet and just do it. Own it, do it. Even if it's a small, tiny little step you can take to move towards the outcome, that by itself, that's the bias towards action, right? But you have to be willing. You can't possibly predict all the outcomes. And especially when you have a really complicated set of tasks or actions to take, some big project or something that you're working on, there's just too much to figure out. So one of the best ways is to take calculated risks, small little baby steps, one step at a time, but do that on regular basis to gain that forward moving momentum. And the key is exactly that, just to take a little baby step to move forward. With every one of those steps taken, you're reducing the risk of not being able to accomplish everything. You're also evaluating as you go, so you're reducing the risk of missing the outcome, because the baby steps are tiny, small, and reversible. So even if you take some sort of an action and that action takes you in the wrong direction, you can correct it on the next action, right? Because they're small, they're baby steps. The other thing that I would mention is, as always, apply Pareto principle. So when you look at all the activity that needs to happen, right, try to apply the bias towards action to the 20% of the activity that delivers 80% of the value. The reason why is because you're taking small baby steps, you're jumping in, you're moving forward, but you're doing it with full intention of being focused on the 20% of the work that has the most impact, right? 80% of the value. So no matter what you do, you'll move this whole thing, whatever the activity is, forward tremendously, even with the tiny little baby steps, and you're reducing the risks along the way. Let's talk about how to enable your team. Team effectiveness often defaults to the lowest common denominator. Like entropy just naturally creeps in, work slows down over time, and you're only as fast as the slowest member of the team. Now you can combat some of this by providing transparency around all the tasks and activities that need to get done. So one of the recommendations is to identify a weekly achievable list of tasks. So whatever goes on that list has to be accomplished, has to be completed in that week, that 1 week. So you figure out the work, you add it to the list, you make it transparent to everybody. Everybody owns a task or a number of these tasks. So it's readily apparent who needs help if they're slipping, but the work is well broken down and transparent to everybody. And it has to be, the key is that those tasks have to be achievable. Because what happens is, as all the team members get things done every week, and then they come review the work, and then they plan for the next week, they sort of re-energize themselves. The momentum keeps building upon itself because everybody on the team can see the work being done. And as a byproduct of this, you'll see increased momentum over time. It's just a natural, wonderful outcome that people achieve when they accomplish a lot. Also consider ways to enable the team to move faster. So you may have to identify any kind of bottleneck or pain point Listen to the gripes, listen to what team members are telling you that are the issues or the root causes behind what's slowing them down. Find ways to address those issues, whether it's automation, perhaps outsourcing, but think in terms of removing the bottlenecks to allow the entire team to go faster. And as always, look to identify the 20% of the work that delivers 80% of the value, the Pareto principle. So, looking at which bottlenecks to focus on, looking at the issues that need to be removed, look for the 20% that has the most impact on the entire team. So, how does bias towards action and enabling the team actually help you? As a result, you create a win-win-win scenario. First, you enable the entire team to go a little bit faster, get more done, and as a byproduct of gaining that work momentum, they actually gain more personal time. Their stress levels are reduced. You, as a byproduct of that, gain some sort of work-life balance, as do your fellow team members. So everybody wins, you and the rest of the team. Next, it's the management, the leadership, right? They get to observe a better performing team that is actually providing more value to the business. So they're winning in that scenario as well. And perhaps even their stress level is a little bit reduced as the team is producing, a significant return on the investment. So, bias towards action, enabling your team to go faster will provide you with a work-life balance for you and your fellow team members, and the entire team gets a lot more work done.